welcome. And isn't it fun to be together again? Yes. Woohoo! So, I'm excited for this wonderful get-together this evening.
It's good to see everybody without masks for once, huh? So yeah, like she said, I'm the president of the Young Americans for Freedom at University of Redlands. I just finished my sophomore year as a political science student. Yeah, and let me tell you, it's a little hectic over there. I remember in 2018 when the Democrats took back the House, one of my political science professors came in with a boombox and was dancing on the front of the classroom. Yeah, I know, just to tell you something that goes on there. So, since I've taken office, my freshman year, I took on the presidency. We've grown from 9 to 54 people. On a campus that's majority, like, far left, Bernie bros. Yeah. So I'm glad and proud to present that alternate point of view. And through that, I'm very, very lucky. I got to go to the Trump rally in Vegas. Yeah. And let me tell you, I saw so many kids my age there. It made me really put a smile on my face. I couldn't take my smile off all day. The energy in that room was just vibrant. And we were there for 6 to 8 hours standing, no seats, and nobody wanted to sit down. Everybody was vibrant because of the energy the president presented. So I'm just so thankful I get to be a part of this movement, and thankful for your guys' support as you continue to support us on campus. And I'm thankful that I get to do what I do in presenting that alternate point of view on our campus. So thank you very much for having me tonight. It's good seeing all of you.
So this guy right here, I call Governor Pharaoh. And the reason why I call him Governor Pharaoh is because the Hebrew children, the children of Israel, when they were in captivity, which 2 years ago I talked about captivity, and I'd like to find that prayer. The Pharaoh told Israel that they could only stay in Egypt and not worship God by going 3 days and worshiping God that way. So when the county, and I have 4 Republican supervisors whom I'm looking not to move forward. So if anybody wants to help me, come talk to me. But when they decided no, they're going to do this. You can only do this online. You can only have church online. I'm like, no, that's not what God said. God said in Hebrews 10:25, we are not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together, even as we see the day approaching. We are in that day. Now, I also stand on, when you go back to the book of Daniel, when you're talking about the end times. The book of Daniel talks about it. So you have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood against their king. The king said, you have to do it this way. And what did they do? They said, no, we're not, and they continued on. But what happened to them? What happened to the 3 Hebrew children? They were burned and they were sent into the fiery furnace. 7 times hotter than it could even take. The guards burned up. But guess what? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're bound, they were lost. Their hands became untied, and the 4th man in the fire was Jesus. Now, let's go into Daniel and the lion's den. Again, King Darius said, you have to do it this way. You have to worship my idol. What did Daniel do? This has to do with prayer, sorry. What did Daniel do? He's like, nope, I'm going to pray. He opened his window and he prayed. Again, these are pharaohs and kings that are trying to tell God's people how they will worship God, and I will not tolerate that. That night, I emailed Harmeet Dillon and said, what can we do about this? Because I'm over the county and I'm over the state. So we filed Gish versus Newsom. Never in my life did I ever dream that I was going to have to file suit against county and the state. Never. I called my pastor the next day and I said, I'm filing a lawsuit. I know that I am a board member. I will gladly step down, but I'm going to do this lawsuit with or without your permission. So I didn't even have the permission of my pastor because I already knew it was wrong. And he said, you know what? No, I'm not taking your resignation, and get me on it with you. We now have to stand as the church. I can tell you the first thing that popped into my mind was ballot harvesting. If you don't believe that this was an attack on God's house, then you are asleep, and please go look up what that means spiritually. Because this was a direct attack. And then the Pharaoh decided that we couldn't sing. Guess what? We stood on the platform and sang our little lungs out. Why? Because again, no Pharaoh is going to tell us how we can worship. This is a fight I will take all the way to the end. My church is being persecuted not only by the left and people inside the church, and actually we've actually been called all kinds of names for standing up. From pastors. But that's okay. That tells me who they are. And I know who I am, and I know who I trust and believe in. And it ain't Pharaoh, it ain't the government, it is God. And no one is going to tell me how. We're going to take back California because I believe God is on our side. It's at the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, or 9th Circus, as I call it, right now. But after the South Bay United lawsuit, Justice Roberts, I think there's something going on with that man, but anyway, he stopped it. We have to learn our constitutional rights. Our rights were given by God to us long before the Constitution was even written. Our Second Amendment rights were given to us long before. So we have to stand up for our freedoms. My little church did. Now, this is going to go to the Supreme Court. I can tell you that right now. So if you'd like to give, I'm going to tell you where you can give to, because this is going to get expensive when it goes to the Supreme Court. The thing that Harmeet Dillon founded was Center for American Liberties, but the website is libertiescenter.org/give. If you want to give to this litigation, this covers the entire First Amendment rights. What we're doing here is covered under that. It's libertiescenter.org/give. They're fighting for our rights. What I'm doing today, I have no children, but I have nieces and nephews. These young people, this is what I'm fighting for, so this next generation has something to stand on. I've been called names, I don't care. Sticks and stones may break my bones. But you know what? I end up in heaven anyway if something should happen. That's a good deal to me. I bypass all this stuff. But we have to stand up. If you have businesses, open up. Do not pay attention to what the county is saying and what the Pharaoh is saying and Pharaoh governor is saying. Why? Because our freedoms have to be taken back by us, regardless of the Constitution. Sorry I'm so passionate, but this is what is happening in my life for the last 4 months. If you want to find out, I had 4 news people at our church. 2 Sundays ago, I had a zoo. Fox News, KTLA 5, and Telemundo, and one I don't even know because they never talk to us. I literally had a zoo, but that's okay. I will stand for our rights till the day I die.
Wow, it's really nice to see all you guys here again. I missed you through the last 3.5 months. My goodness. Praise God that we can all gather together today and to make better choices for ourselves and our families. So recall, woohoo! I'm ready to go. Got my signs out, got everything ready to go. We're not quite ready. I am going to be leaving here very shortly to go to an 8 o'clock meeting with the first recall people. So, if you look on my Facebook, Debbie A. Lallo, or Sherlock's Income Tax, you will see all the updated information. When you see my sign go up on my business across the street, you'll know it's time. Okay? So it's going to be anytime this week or next week. I'm not certain. We don't have an exact date, but it was 11 days, and I don't know how far we're past the 11 days now, but you know how the government is. Anyways, we really need to rally this time. We need to come up with 2 million signatures. 2 million, you guys. And they have to be good signatures. So I'm going to fund the templates. And if you need petitions, you can come to my office. I'll have them there. Send people over to me to sign, whatever you can do, whatever you'd like to do in this participation. If you want to sign up, you can go to Recall Gavin Newsom 2020. All right? Let's recall this dude. It's time.
So good to see everyone. I wanted to say God bless this country, because what's happening here is an absolute disaster. And yesterday I posted something on Facebook that I would like to read to you. These are my sentiments. Thinking out loud. It breaks my heart to see so much hatred and division. Innocent people getting hurt, their businesses destroyed. Men and women in law enforcement getting disrespected, hurt, and even murdered. Don't get me wrong, I do not condone the abuse, reckless murder of George Floyd by Derek Chauvin and the other 3 officers involved. They are where they belong, in jail, and so hopefully soon in prison. I do not agree with the condemning of all law enforcement. 3 are bad cops, but the majority are good men and women who puts on uniform every day to protect us from criminals. Young adults being taught to hate and destroy innocent people's lives. Young adults rioting, making ridiculous demands without weighing both sides. Young adults destroying their future. But what makes me even sadder is to see our elected officials bending backwards to thugs, kneeling and apologizing to mobs. Liberals and organizations who don't have in their plans to meet us halfway, to work out and find solutions, like Black Lives Matter. For me, all lives matter. I will only kneel for God. As I embark on this journey to run for office, to work with all races, young and old, I see just how manipulated our elections are, but I'm not giving up. Congress seats are bought, not elected. I will work very hard to give it my all, not for a specific group or race, but for all, most importantly, for our country, for whom I have taken the oath of citizenship to protect and defend. Win or lose, I will remain faithful to my country, the United States of America. This is what I posted yesterday. We are so divided beyond belief. And it is up to each one of us to fight for candidates. I'm just not talking about me. Every candidate that's conservative, that has this country's best interests at heart, we have to give it everything we have. Because if we don't do it now, we'll lose our freedom. Having come from a communist country, that is the last thing you want, is to lose your freedom of speech, freedom of religion. In my country, you would go to prison if they knew you baptized a baby. I'm one of those that was baptized going in through the back door of a church. We do not want that in our country. I love this country with everything I have. Win or lose, I will have laid that seed, and hopefully whoever follows behind me, even if I win or lose, doesn't matter. But we must continue fighting, and until I take my last breath, I will never give up on the country that I love. That is a promise I made when I took my oath, and it's a promise I made to you. I'm not catering to any special organization, group, or special interest groups at all. I will stand for what I believe, for what we believe, and what is best for our country. I am not going to be bought or sold. So I ask of you, please go on my page. We have been shut down. This is third month. Every speaking engagement that I had was canceled, postponed, and hopefully they'll be opening up. Donate to my campaign. Doesn't matter if it's $10, $20 a month. Make it for a monthly contribution until the end of this campaign. Because my opponent is being fed an awful lot of money. I don't need millions of dollars. We're running a very responsible campaign, have some wonderful, good-hearted people working on my campaign, but I can't do it alone. So please help, and let's make California great again. And like Janice said, let's make the word politician great again, not corruption. Thank you, and God bless you.
This lady has my vote. How about you?
I have to correct the record. I'm the Emeritus Mayor of Loma Linda. About a month and a half ago, we had an election, and because my job has switched around and I'm too busy, I figured I couldn't serve the people well. So I'm still on the city council, but I let the mayor role go to the only policeman on our council, because at the time I said, because of this COVID disaster, we're going to have civil unrest. And I was a little bit too prescient for my own liking. So now we have a cop for a mayor instead of a doctor, and I think that's more appropriate, given the fact that we're all under attack. They wanted me to talk about COVID. I am a physician, but I don't have any special expertise on COVID. But what I can tell you is that the most important statistic that I've seen in the last month is that the CDC is estimating that only 0.26% of infected cases die with COVID, which is about double a bad flu season. And nobody ever shut down the world economy and blew its own economic head off for the flu, okay? Since 1918, when we had a really bad one. So what we have done is we have allowed our society to commit economic suicide over a relatively mild disease. And I'm not diminishing 100,000 deaths, but if you divide 100,000 by 0.0026 and do the math, there have been 40 million people infected in this country. So the death rate is fairly low on that scale. But enough for COVID. COVID, all it did was cock the gun, and the trigger was pulled by the death of George Floyd. What we're seeing is a conversion of a Cold War into a hot war, and that war is the American Counter-Revolutionary War. Our revolution was fought for personal freedom over 200 years ago, and now there's a war being fought to take it away. It's a counter-revolution. And it's up to us to stand in the way of this. And you know, our leaders, yeah, let's applaud that. Let's stand in the way of this counter-revolution. Okay? I always like to look at things backwards because you can learn something by standing on your head and looking at something that looks familiar. The Second Amendment is starting to look very attractive to me. And I've always felt that basically, if you look at the writings of the founding fathers, they basically said the Second Amendment is necessary because at some point the government will become the enemy, and the people have to rise up. And I'm not recommending rising up against the government, but right now, if you look at the Second Amendment and read it, it starts by saying that a militia is necessary to the survival of a free people, a free government. That to me sounds like a command. You know, if the Constitution said it's necessary to have anything else, we would have that something else. So, you know, I'm thinking, and I'm just trying to pull out my little prophetic hat here, I'm thinking that it might come down to the fact that we literally will stand in the way of the American counter-revolution at some point. So be prepared for it. There's a principle of government that says that if you have starvation, the revolution is socialism. If you have disorder, the revolution is militaristic. We have both right now. We have self-imposed starvation brought about by this shutdown, and we have a total breakdown in civil order. Right on our back door, we have interesting YouTube videos going around from Yucaipa and San Bernardino. It's interesting that we're always right in the middle of whatever is going on wrong with the world. I guess it's our plight because God saw that we are a strong people, that we're the ones who will stand against tyranny, we're the ones who will stand against disorder. Now, the press is not reporting this, but 71% of people polled believe in law and order and want the National Guard to protect them. And there are a whole bunch of people who want their houses to be burnt down, right? How many people do you know who want their houses to be burnt down? Not too many. But the talking heads on CNN and MSNBC, they want businesses to be burnt down. They want these people to express their anger. Well, look, I agree with the anger, but you don't express it with criminality or you cross me, okay? So if you want to convince the world that you're not a bunch of criminals, you don't do it by acting like a bunch of criminals. It's probably the stupidest strategy I've ever seen. But anyway, we are the Tea Party. The Tea Party saved America the first time, and the Tea Party will save us again.
My name's Dale Broome, and I've been tasked to help lead the San Bernardino County effort for school choice here. And so I'm kind of working under Doug and Janice as well as the other leadership team. But I just wanted to let you guys know that a recent poll was done of voters. This is very, very important. Because of the coronavirus lockdowns that have been going on, parents are for the first time experiencing homeschooling, okay? And that can be good and that can be bad. First of all, one of the bad things is they're seeing how little their kids really know, and maybe they haven't learned the materials that they need to learn. And they're saying, we got to get caught up. At the same time, they're getting a chance to spend more time with their children, to help educate them. They can teach them values as well as just knowledge. And that's very, very important. So as a result, this poll showed that over 40% of voters right now are considering continuing homeschooling into the fall, particularly with this coronavirus. They're also finding that over 60% of the voters support school choice. So this is a very, very hot topic for parents and voters. And so what we're going to try to do is this. I have a couple announcements that I did want to mention. First of all, you'll see this little flyer on your table. On Thursday this week at my house, we're going to have an organizational meeting for volunteers that want to help out with the school choice. What we basically got to do is help educate the public, and then eventually we're going to have the petition ready and we're going to need to collect signatures. So I need a lot of help. This is going to be a big effort, and if you have a passion for this, we'd love to have you contact either me, Doug, or Janice, and we've got our contact information on there. And if you'd like to come, we're going to have a light meal there, and we're going to just talk about what's going on and how you can help out. The other thing I wanted to mention is another event that's coming up on the 25th of June. Because so many parents are wanting to start homeschooling, we felt that it was very important for us to organize a homeschooling conference. So on the 25th, which is a Thursday, at 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., over at the Ark Church, we're going to have a homeschooling conference, and we've invited 3 really exciting speakers to come and talk who are very experienced at homeschooling and very knowledgeable about what's happening in the public schools. And the first is Rebecca Casas. She's with CHIA, which is Christian Home Educators Association, I believe. And then Denise Soto, who's with our California School Choice. And then Rebecca Friedrichs, which is Charles' daughter. Most of us are familiar with her. She's stood up to the teachers' unions and has written quite extensively and spoken extensively about what is happening in terms of the unions and what they're doing to the public schools. So I hope you'll consider attending these events.
Well, welcome. I'm glad I'm here. I said this before. It's great to be out of Sacramento and with people who are normal for a change. You don't know what a breath of fresh air you guys are. I'm going to try to help on this initiative with Dr. Broome. I've got my legal counsel looking at it, as well as Senator Morlock's bill that failed, and we're going to try to give some suggestions to make it better, because we know the Democrats will probably sue and try to hold us up in the courts if it passed. So I just got that information. My staff yesterday, we're working on it. It's going to be a few weeks, but certainly hope that this passes, because you know, the schools in California used to be #1, but we were told the further government moves away from the people, things get worse. So now you've got, you know, a handful of people in DC dictating our, you know, one size fits all. And so if we were to return local control, I guarantee you, the parents, the school teacher and school board in each district probably knows better how to educate our children than the bureaucrats in DC. So we've got to try to make something like this happen and return it back to the local municipalities. So I want to say a few things tonight, kind of piggyback on Dr. Rigsby, what he said. Our country is in serious trouble. I think we know that. You guys have heard of Dr. Larry Arnn, president of Hillsdale College. I remember a few years ago on the radio, he was speaking with Hugh Hewitt, being interviewed by him. And Hugh, he told Hugh, he says, we've just entered under the Obama administration, the 3rd great American crisis. And I stuck that in the back of my head, because it sounded serious, right? We know how the first 2 started and how they ended. And, you know, it wasn't really a great thing for our country, other than we prevailed and we had a victory, but, you know, a lot of challenges with that. And so Hugh asked him, well, do you think it's going to start or end the same way, with maybe, as Dusty was saying, exercising our Second Amendment? So Dr. Arnn would never put himself out there to give an answer, but you know what he did say? Put a little fear in me. He says, he says, I'm not sure, but perhaps our hair might get mussed up a bit, you know? And I think that could have been code for, we just need to be prepared for whatever comes. So today, I was having lunch with a friend of mine I hadn't seen. He's a biller. His name's Felix. And Felix said, Mike, doesn't our governor have any common sense? And I said, Felix, you're giving him too much credit when you say that. When you say that, it implies that he's not that smart. Have you ever considered that many of these guys have embraced the political ideologies of Marx and Lenin over those of Lincoln and Washington? These guys are smart, ladies and gentlemen. Scriptures tell us that our fight's not against flesh and blood, but about the principalities of darkness. Thanks for helping me with my scripture, man. A little light on that. Bible light. But anyway, you know, how many of you have heard or read the book Rules for Radicals? You should read it by Saul Alinsky. Anyway, it's how to disrupt America through lies and deceptions. Exactly what's being carried out now. And here's what's also interesting. Alinsky dedicates that book to who? Lucifer. Very good, right? Now, any kook could write a book like that, right? But the only thing is, did you know Barack Obama taught a class on Alinsky at the University of Chicago? Some of you knew that. And Hillary did her thesis on Alinsky. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of people who are Alinskyites. They don't think like us. They're not fair-minded people. They're playing at a higher level than our people are, because we play to be fair and just, and they're playing to take our country away. Just a couple of years ago, they called themselves progressive, which means they believe in the expansion of the bureaucratic state. Now they're calling themselves socialists. And the next step is socialism by force, which is nothing worse than tyranny and communism. And so the thing is, we're in a lot of trouble. I am convinced we are in the third great American crisis. And so you have to continue to do what you're doing. Now, on the other side, I also want you to know the thing that discourages me or worries me isn't that we can't beat these guys. It's just we got to get the good people. You guys, we have to talk more. And I'll explain. I talk to a lot of people, and they just sort of don't get it. You know the lady for the county or the city of LA, the white-haired lady who does the health thing? And for Garcetti, she was on TV one day, and they had closed the beaches in LA because too many people came, and then she goes, we're going to reopen it, but you can't walk on the dry sand, you have to walk on the wet sand, but we're going to do this because we want to incentivize with a carrot rather than using a stick against people. Now, here's the thing. I have shared that in my last couple of Zoom meetings that I did, and it sort of goes over people's head. You know, back 20, 30 years ago, we would run people like that out of town that said they were going to use a stick against the American people. And so one of my biggest fears that I'm just learning isn't how bad the left is, it's how uneducated our people are. You see? And because they don't get that, you know, about using a stick. That's a nice way of saying they're tyrants, right? And Reagan used to say that government's there to work for us, not against us. And listen to this one. He said it's there to be our servant, not our master. And government's becoming our master. In limited government, we the people have to restore back to limited government and remind these bureaucrats that they work for us. And so that's going to be a tough job, but I'm grateful. I started here and had pneumonia when I gave my first speech about 12 years ago when I was running for this seat, and you guys were gracious to me, and I thank God for you. But you're true believers, and we've got to give it all. You know, all of us. Proverbs says that our duty as parents is leave an inheritance to our children's children. That goes beyond just financial, but also you know, liberty and freedom and religious freedom. And so we got to give it our best. I know in my life the sand is running out of the hourglass, but I'm just praying and asking God that He continues to use me, to use us to take back our country. So we are in a precarious position, but let me just close with this one thought. When I first got started, you know, pastors weren't involved in this movement. And Alexis de Tocqueville in Democracy in America said those guys were the guys that made America great. He says that in that 700-page book, right? And so in the first two great American crises, it was the pastors that led us out of this. And so nothing has happened in that community until recently. I just want to share with you this. And this has to be some kind of a movement by the Almighty. You know, this year, and I'm not exaggerating. Now, I've spoken to pastors at conferences, not just in California, but pastors across the United States. I think I've crossed, and these are pastors, some have 40 members in their church, others have 5,000. I have a number I've spoke to who have over 20,000 people in their churches. One pastor I know has over 100,000 people that watch him online, and another one has 2 million listeners on his radio station. I've had the opportunity this year to speak to probably over 12,000 pastors. People, yeah. And the only thing that I did is when I prepare for my speech is, God, give me wisdom, your words, not my words, because I got to influence these people to save our country. And so, you know, I'm hoping I'm do that. But the thing is on one hand, I'm very nervous about what's going on here. On the other hand, again, just in this last year, the fact that those many doors have opened for me, I'm convinced that we have some rough seas ahead of us. But I'm also convinced that the Almighty has not written California, America off, and I believe He wants His country back, but it's up to us to do it. Thank you, guys.
Redlands, we defeated Measure G to allow unlimited height and density apartments. 65% no. The city planning is that they're basically planning as if that never happened. And maybe why they're doing that is there's a bill, SB 902, which will basically gut all of our local growth control initiatives and let the city council build essentially whatever they want. So the enemy, we're going to talk about this a little bit here, in so many ways, in every front, in every avenue, the enemy is in motion. The enemies of freedom, the enemies of our country are in motion, almost more than we can deal with. It's like, for us, it's like whack-a-mole. They are relentless. They know what they want, unlike many of the people on our side. The good news about the recent is the coronavirus dem panic is officially over. Dusty touched on what's happening. Here is a, yes, someone saying something? No, okay. If you look at this chart, these are coronavirus deaths among the G7 countries and Sweden. The very lowest line is Japan, that did not lock down. The second lowest line is Sweden, that did not lock down. All the other countries there, US, France, Italy, UK, Germany, all locked down and did worse. We wrecked our economy for no gain in health. Now there's a series of studies, we won't go through this, but basically some of the studies, 2 of the 12 studies were, it was less dangerous than flu, another 7 were, a little bit worse, and then 2 were considered higher than that. But again, we're looking at something that's in the range of bad flu, nothing that warrants what was done. But here's the unemployment rate, tracking from 1950, up and down, various recessions, until we get to the end here, spikes of 14.7, and it's probably going to be well over 20% when the June numbers come out tomorrow, for no gain in health. The people are starting to end it, never mind the government. This was in New Jersey, still officially under lockdown, and the people are speaking and voting with their feet. Now there are still some Karens out there that still want to hang on to this and want people to be living in fear. And certainly, but we also established that notwithstanding the desire for vote by mail, if you can loot in person, you can vote in person. It's established. Turning a little more seriously, we got 152 days from tonight before the election. And you say this is the most important election ever. This one is. If the Democrats win the Congress and the presidency, the first thing they're going to do, never mind the rest of their nefarious agenda, is amnesty for 20 to 40 million illegal aliens and new Democrat voters, and it is over. The country is kind of on the balance now. When they get 20 to 40 million new Democrat voters, it won't be on the balance anymore. It'll be a one-party socialist state. That's the stakes here. Big Dem Tech is helping them, censoring anyone they don't like and runs contrary to official information. Facebook, Twitter, Gulag. Our Facebook page is growing dramatically. And I'm not sure exactly why, but we're over 2,200 members. That's good. But it increased, if one of the leftists at Facebook decides that we're a threat to the Democrats, we can be terminated like that. And we won't be able to reach all of those 2,200 people. So it's important that you be on our email list and that you should join us on alternative social media. Freedom-loving Americans need to make this exodus. The best available site now is called Gab. They've redesigned their site, it's better. There's lots more people coming there. You're getting some more famous people are coming into Gab. Open your Gab account and follow the Redlands Tea Party Patriots. We have a page there. Only about 12 people are on that page. Y'all need to be there, because when Facebook, if and when Facebook cuts us off, we need to have the backup. And if you're not already doing it, replace Google with DuckDuckGo as your default search engine. You can do that in whatever browser you're using. It works very well, and we don't support the enemy. This company supports the government of China. It's helping China develop artificial intelligence, but won't help our military develop artificial intelligence. They are the enemies of our country, and we should not support them. Gab. Dusty had a really great way to express it, the counter-revolution. I'm going to steal that in future discussions. We started with this basic principle that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator. And that principle that made America great was the exception in human history. Usually in all of human civilization, it's some god or gods up here, then the pharaoh, king, shah, what have you, the government, and then the people. What America was the exception to that: God, people, government. And we see the results of that exception. But that exception is unstable. It's not the usual human way of governance. That's cross-culture and across thousands of years of human history. So you really have to work at it if you want to maintain God, people, government. George Washington and Alexis de Tocqueville both recognized, and many others, the essential nature of religion and Christianity to America. Because if you don't have the government controlling you, you have to have the internal control. And that comes from religion, and because opposite religion, you don't have a moral base. And that has been under attack. Just line up, see if my laser pointer works. Nope. Let's try this. There we go. So what we see here is from 1972 to 2018. The blue line is evangelical Christians, runs up to about 30% and has declined to about 23-24% as of 2018. The yellow line is Catholics, somewhat down, not steeply. Interestingly, the now very far left, almost socialist or Marxist, mainline Protestant churches have plummeted from a high of over 30% down to just over 10%. Black Protestants had a drop here, then they've been fairly constant, little under, it's like about 6-7%, and the Jewish people have also been fairly constant. The big increase, however, is no religion, and that's not an accident. Karl Marx from the beginning told them that religion is the opiate of the people, and they realized they have to undo religion to undo the American Revolution. You see it in the government-run schools. I mean, it's all part of an integrated battle plan by the enemy. Why are they teaching children how to use vegetables as sex toys, for example? 58% of college-educated students say that the riots, mass looting, mass rioting, beating up people on the streets is partially or fully justified. In large measure, that's the absence of moral instruction and absence of religion. I'll pass on these various quotes other than this one. Ronald Reagan cautioned us that if we forget what we did, we won't know who we are. And not only are they helping us making sure we forget what we did, they're teaching a different version of it. that America from the get-go was an inherently, irredeemably racist and bad country. And probably our college students here would probably acknowledge that that's kind of what he's nodding his head. Yep, that's exactly what they're paying $60,000 or so to be taught at the university. For 100 years, they've waged a long march through our cultural institutions. And now, in 2008, the formal declaration of war. They want to fundamentally, in their words, fundamentally transform the United States of America, the counter-revolution. And 2020, in a semi-lucid moment, Joe Biden agreed. So I've collected over time some pictures of what Dem Party America looks like and what the whole country is going to look like if they get in charge. Drag queen story hour, people defecating on the streets, and it's allowed. It's not just that somebody does something bad. This is allowed by the Democrats in charge. Homeless encampments everywhere. Here's a guy on the BART train smoking crack. Nothing happens to him. But of course, if he had smoked a cigarette, he would have been arrested and taken away at the next stop. Here's more perversion on the streets with this little girl and these guys. We have the rioting, more rioting. And here you got, supposedly the rioting is for social justice for African Americans. And here you got, if you can see it well, this over on the right, you got some white Antifa girl giving her the middle finger to two black cops. There's Dem Party America. It's hard to read here, but this is the graffiti on the Lincoln Memorial. And it says, "Y'all not tired yet?" I included that because when we recorded our radio show today, before we were talking with my co-host Don Dix and our engineer Dan, and Dan said, I'm just I'm tired of this. I want it to be over. And I remembered this picture. This is part of what they want to do. They're trying to wear us down. So we give up. We're just tired of fighting them. It's all part of the strategy. Fundamentally transform the United States of America. And you see what kind of things we're up against. Just today, former General James Mattis, Trump's first Secretary of the Defense, attacks him as being divisive and undermining the Constitution. And just a brief mention, well, there are a few people, you must not be distracted by a small number of lawbreakers. Not a word of criticism of using the deep state to investigate and try to stop your political opponents and then overthrow a duly elected president. Think that might undermine the Constitution? Not a word from James Mattis. And guess what? Senator Pierre Delecto, also known as Mitt Romney, endorsed Mattis's remarks. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska endorsed his remarks. Do not overestimate, do not underestimate what these people are going to do to gain power. Thus far, what have we seen this year? They took a disease, overhyped it, and wrecked the global economy. Potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world are going to die because they did that in their desire for power. Then, what they've done in these riots, pre-planned, they put out bricks as locations around cities. This was planned, ready, funded, and ready to roll at the right opportunity. And we're only in June. What are these people going to do in September and October? And I don't know, but it's going to be bad. They will stop at nothing to overthrow our revolution, overthrow our freedom, and gain power for themselves. So what can we do? It's easy to throw up our hands and go, well, we can't fight all these big forces, and we don't have to. We need, like soldiers in a war, we need to worry about the portion of the front that's right in front of our foxholes. And there are things right here, right now that we can do, a number of them, and we'll be talking later in later meetings about other things you can do.
As a former reporter, I just want to make fun of the LA Times. You see this here? There's somebody there holding up, let's see, a burned out police car with graffiti, having a middle finger. Let's see, and with fire in the background. According to the Los Angeles Times, that is unrest. So, unrest is what happens when my liberal wife learns that I wrote a $50 check to Donald Trump. That is unrest. So I'm going to show you how to fight back, because the Postcard project, very excited about it. This is how we fight back. Like Dusty talked about the American counter-revolution, this is it. This is how we can strike back against ground zero. That one right there? Okay, thanks. So this is how we fight back. So the next slide. All right. Oh, background and update, okay. This is the one, if you'd seen us on Facebook, I first started talking about this in March. So tonight I'm going to talk about this project. I'm going to talk about your role in this project, and I got 3 very quick updates. So in February, Jennifer Zhang was here. If you remember her speech about, she was in the Falun Gong and the concentration camps of China. So after that, I've subscribed to the Epoch Times, and I really recommend it. In fact, I ditched my Redlands Daily Facts so I could afford this subscription. Large print, very good newspaper. They were writing about stuff about the communist Chinese virus back in November when the rest of the media hadn't even heard about it. So I highly recommend. Mike Garcia, he was out on our Facebook meeting. He had a special election in May. He won by 12 points on election night when everybody considered that race a toss-up. First of all, only in California can 12 points on election night be considered too early to call. He actually won by 9 points, but it's amazing. Any other state, if you win by 12 points on election night, you're a winner, except any other state in California. But that shows the undertone of what's there. The Cook Political Report, and everybody bows down to it, said it was a toss-up race, and yet he came away winning by 12 points. That shows you what's going on. Trump Victory Leadership Initiative. Okay, through the California Republican Party, the Trump Leadership Victory Initiative is sponsoring these 1-hour workshops online. I took one about ballot harvesting. I took one about the MAGA meetups, about phone banking, and it's a very good little program. So I've got a yellow sheet down here with Doug. Raise your hand, Doug. You're going to get familiar with him. He has a yellow pad. Just give me your name and email, and I'll forward it along, because they're going to have another training session that's actually very good. Okay, on to what I'm talking about. So why this Postcard project? In 2016, Trump won because he brought new voters to the game. Our so-called political experts never saw it coming. That's why he won. Remember the New York Times on election night, that little famous arrow? 99% Hillary win, and it slowly went back. Why? Because Trump brought in 6 million new voters. So 63 million in 2016, 6 million of those people had not voted since 2006. Suddenly they're showing up. That's us getting at the core of what we're doing tonight. He brought in 10% of new voters. They never saw it coming. That was a 10-0 earthquake on the political Richter scale. So in the 13 swing states from 2016, almost 5 million new voters. This was the margin of victory for Trump. So the National Tea Party Patriots, I remember Jenny Beth Martin when she was here last year. She's heading up a program through the Tea Party Patriots. So we're going after the sweet spot. The Democrats must flip all 3, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. They must flip all 3 states to defeat Trump. As our political Bill Pasco talks, he says, that's like getting an inside straight. It's going to be very difficult to do. Our job through this Postcard project is to make sure they don't get that inside straight. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So through this, the Tea Party Patriots, of which the Redlands Tea Party Patriots, one of their most active chapters, we're going to be contacting 1 million of those low propensity Trump voters. These are the people who showed up in 2016 but did not show up in 2018. We need to make sure they show up in 2020, and that's what we're here to do tonight. Postcards, down the line there's going to be texting, phone calls, and door knocking, but the postcards are different. Okay, our role, when I opened mouth and inserted foot, back before all this COVID stuff struck, I said, yes, the Redlands Tea Party Patriots will fill out 25,000 postcards. And then this whole COVID thing struck. So please don't make me look like a liar. This is why I need your help. So we're gonna sign out the postcards. Vanna White, you wanna stand up there? You know, look there. Okay, we're gonna sign out those postcards. We distribute them. You write a personal message, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit more. You write a personal message to that targeted voter in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan about why they need to vote for Donald Trump, and I'm going to talk about this. We collect them. The Tea Party Patriots are going to send them out en masse late September, early October into Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. My job is I'm going to train the trainer. So we've got a couple of brave patriots here who have their own groups. I'm willing to come talk to your group and give them postcards as a parting gift. Okay, so swing state math. Why is this so important? Oh, okay, it's a little small, right? I'll read it from you. So we got the state, total votes, new voters, Trump margin. Okay, Pennsylvania, a total of 15 million votes. New voters, thank you, Trump, just over 500,000. His total victory margin was 44,000 votes. That's 0.7. The pollsters in 2016 had Pennsylvania leaning blue. Okay, next state. Wisconsin, nobody saw this coming. Not even the biggest Trump person like me saw this coming. 3 million voters, just over 230,000 new voters. His margin of victory was just under 23,000 votes. By the way, all the postcards you're going to sign and sign out are going to Wisconsin. That's the first draft. The next state, Michigan, media leans blue. We won. Just under 5 million votes, just under 300,000 new voters, 0.3%. 10,000 voters helped make Donald Trump president. We've got 25,000 postcards. Our 25,000 postcards equal the number of the vote margins for Trump in Michigan and Wisconsin. It's that important. Okay. All right, the source, Tea Party Patriot. Okay. So let me show you. This is my garage. Can you see that? This is why I don't park my car in my garage between April and November. By the way, that's only 7 out of the 8 boxes. There's another one that came last night. Thank you, UPS. But this is what it looks like, and that's just 100 right there. So these are, as Trump would say, big, beautiful postcards. So here's the front. Okay. Donald Trump at a Tea Party Patriots rally in 2016, U.S. Capitol. That's the front. Okay, this is the back. The required statement. This is the voter in Wisconsin. That's the return address. All you have to do is write a positive note in that area, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. So why Trump needs us now? I mean, I can't talk about it better than Dusty and better than Greg. The Mueller report was coup attempt 1.0. And it failed. Impeachment, coup attempt 2.0, failed. Now we're hitting rough waters. The coronavirus 3.0, likely to fail. 4.0, these riots, these things have political potential because they could scare off the people who voted for Trump in 2016. That's why what we're doing here is so important now. I don't know what coup attempt 5.0 is going to be, but it's going to be dirty. Look how dirty they've gotten. I mean, as Dusty and Greg said it well, this is how bad it's going to get. This is how we fight back. Okay, so how tonight will work. Okay, I'm going to talk about messaging. I'm going to sign out in blocks of 100. This thing has potential to be an absolute accountability nightmare. So I need you to be very cooperative on this one, and I'm happy to do it because it could make out a big difference. We're going to sign out from Vanna White over here in blocks of 100. It's just going to take your serial number, your name, your phone number, and your email. I know we got some doctors, write legibly. I'm going to create a database that tracks all 100 the blocks. That's 2,500 blocks of 100s I have to track. Plus, I'm going to keep you in an email distro. The point is, when you've signed them, you're 100 back, and you give them back to me order, I can give you more if you would like. If you're done, you're done. But please give them back to me. Okay. Also, so when you sign out tonight, Doug is going to give you a little postcard that has my name and my address and my cell phone. So if you want to come to my house and pick up a block, I'll put a note with a bag with your name on it, or I'll come drop one off at your house, vice versa. But the goal is to keep feeding. Like y'all seen pictures of a machine gun, you just keep feeding the gun so we can fire stuff off. I'm sorry, I'm an Army guy, I love that metaphor. All right, okay. Your task, you absolutely have to write positive messages. These could be going to somebody who's been a Democrat their whole life, stopped voting, then suddenly like Trump. You don't want to give them a reason not to vote for Trump, okay? So it absolutely has to be a positive messages. So, okay, covered that. Optional, if this is, okay, a $2 million project, we can't rely just on rich benefactors to come in. So if you want to put on a 35-cent stamp, that'd be nice. Here is my $50 check to the Tea Party Patriots Citizens Fund. Everybody coming up here is going to get that donation form. So my little beer money for the year is going to be going to the Tea Party Patriots Citizens Fund to pay for this $2 million project. Okay, my task is to avoid having a Malox moment. That's what it is. So I have to return all 25,000 postcards in order. Each postcard has a little serial number on the back. I need you to get that and fill it out, or get them in order after your messages. Sign out blocks of 100, return to me 100 blocks in order, and you can take home your blocks. You can call me up, drop them off on my porch. I can give you more if you want to bring them back next month, we can do that. But I got to keep this going. Okay, positive messaging. Now, this was very shrewd what the Tea Party Patriots did. These are going to swing voters in key districts. If we get them to vote for Trump, they'll vote down ballot. Trump's the catnip. We just got to get them to turn out. Trump will get them to turn out, and we can get them to vote down ballot. That's why each one of these voters are very specifically targeted. They could include Democrats. When you tell a story, make it personal. Talk about your future of your grandchildren, your business, how Trump makes you feel better, but it's got to be a positive message. Make it personal. Tell a story, 2 to 3 sentences. As a former reporter, spent 20 years in journalism, I've recovered. Your ear is your best editor, right? If you just want to write something, say it aloud. Hey, I like that. Make it a message. Again, if they vote for Trump, they'll come out down ballot. Okay. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, I don't know if you can read that, so I'll read it verbatim. I've been serving the U.S. Army Reserve since 1983, and Donald Trump is the best commander-in-chief I've had since Ronald Reagan. Please cast your vote to help re-elect President Trump. My name is John, and I live in Redlands, California. My cell, 909-496-1539, if you'd like to discuss. And I'm going to sign it. You don't have to do that. But I'm saying, and I do that when I text, I put in this, John, this is my real cell phone. I've only had one person ever text me back. But the point is to make it personal. Tell a story. Motivate them, because what happens in political season? You get stacks of junk mail, right? Garbage, recycle, 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 and suddenly you're going to get this postcard that has a personal handwritten note specifically to you. They're going to read it. You're going to make an impression on them. The better your story, the more it's going to resonate. So that's what I'm going to say. So thank you, Patriots. That's me, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Went up to the wall, brought my Trump flag. So that's right against Nogales, Mexico. So the way we're going to do this, we're running way over. So please come down to this table and sign out the blocks that you would like and take them home. I'll be happy to stick around for questions.